Alright, today I want to show you how you can grow tomatoes vertically to save space, prevent disease, and just grow a freak ton of tomatoes. So usually you have a tomato cage, that's what people use. I feel like they're always too small. Like once they get big enough for the tomato to start actually producing, the tomato cage usually ends up falling over. So what I made here was I put two tomato cages, one at each end. You can see it's just, these tomatoes are growing everywhere now. I could have pruned this back, but I left it to grow along the hose bib. And it's making tomatoes. These are Everglades tomato. They're a really small variety, but they're supposed to grow throughout the summer here. But anyways, I use these tomato cages as a frame. So I'll put one on each end. And I got 5 tomato plants growing in this little patch. It's about 1 foot by 8 feet. And these poles right here are 8 feet long. So I put these 8-foot poles right along the edge of the tomato cage. And then I just attach some string from each end to the other, and that gives the tomatoes something to reach on. As you can see, the strings there. And these strings can hold up to 20 pounds each. This is a hemp cord. It's a very strong material, and it will last a while. So this stuff, it's a little more expensive, but it's thin and it can hold a lot of weight. And if you want to put something that has more weight, like a watermelon, you can double wrap the cord. But look at these tomatoes come in. I forget what variety these are. They have like a lot of color on them. Purplish tomato. We got some marigolds in there. A little bit of basil too. But you can see it's only about 1 foot wide. About 8 feet long. And this is a great way to grow tomatoes, because if you grow them just along the ground, they usually will get disease. And they won't live for too long. These tomatoes are nice and healthy. They're kind of growing like a vine, vertically. And that's cool. It's going to make for easy picking. It's going to prevent disease. You can see this one here got kind of low. It got left behind. So I tied up a string right from there to the center and actually tied it right to the tomato. And it's pulling that tomato right back up. So this is a good way to save space. These tomatoes don't really get in our walking path. They just kind of stay nice and tucked against the house. The house keeps the wind off them. It also helps with the temperature. They don't get too much of the afternoon sun because of where they're facing, which is also a bonus for these tomatoes. So we're going to be able to grow them through the summer. And when I grew these, this was just like seashells and sand. So this wasn't good soil by any means. But lots of compost, lots of fertilizer, all organic. And it seems to be working pretty well. But I've grown tomatoes a bunch, and it seems like if you can grow them more vertically, that's like your best bet. And these are 8-foot poles. It seems pretty extreme, but the tomatoes are just climbing. I'm sure in a few days they'll be at the top of those poles. And you can look, the flowers are just everywhere. There's tomatoes all over. And you can grow them pretty close as long as you keep up on your fertilizer. So you can see I have 5 tomato plants right here in this row. And this will be enough tomatoes for us once these start producing. But we really like tomatoes, so we're growing more. And if something happens to some of these, it'll be nice to have some extra tomatoes on some other sides of the yard. But you can see, you can train them really easy to just go along the fencing and grow along the string. You can see that string at the bottom I used wasn't very strong. That's why I recommend the hemp cord. It works a lot better. And that stuff, it's thin. You barely notice it, but it's really strong. You can see how little of a space this takes up. So it's pretty narrow how I'm growing them. It's just about 1 foot deep. And I'd say that's about an 8-foot wide or 8-foot long bed. But I'm going to go show you another one I have set up on the other side. Here's your little star fruit. This thing is looking great. Fig over here. Look at that new growth. It's just taking over the pot. A little orange seedling. Starting to push up orange fruits. You can see a few of them hanging on. We'll see how that does, but what I want to show you, this is how you start with these tomatoes. So there's these poles, And over here, I'm not even going to use the tomato cages. We're just going straight to these 8-foot poles. And they're starting to flower already. But the string and these 8-foot poles will help your tomatoes grow vertically. It's going to save you a lot of space. And if you grow them vertically, keep those top few branches trimmed back, and you should prevent disease.